Hi, and hello. Welcome to another Sunday live chat. It's Gail and Karen as usual, and we have Lucille Reddic and Tiffany Castagno as our guests. I am Gale Weithers, your corporate trainer. My superpower is using training to help leaders empower their teams to learn, grow, and earn together. Karen, tell us who you are before we go to our guests.
Hi, my name is Karen. I'm a your favorite virtual assistant. And I help business professionals balance between work and life with consistent on with administrative duties. So,
Great.
Gail, we was talking about this yet last in the background before we started. And like I said, I love me some scandal, honey. So
So,
I'm
yes,
really
today's going to be scandalous. So, we are happy to have with us Lucille Reddic. She is our resident marriage ambassador, and Tiffany Castagno. She's our resident HR curator of culture. And we say these are our people because they are our people. So, ladies, welcome to our Sunday chat. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. And of course, then we're going to get this hot topic off and started. So,
Okay, do you
Lucille,
want
you
me to
can
go
go first.
first? Okay,
Yes,
all
please.
right. Hi. As she said before, I'm Lucille Reddick, and I'm calling myself the marriage ambassador because I am for marriage. I support wives and wives to be create peace, purpose, and passion in their relationships.
Mhm.
And that's what I do. I'll pass it on to Tiffany.
Welcome, Tiffany.
Mhm.
Yes, I love it. I'm so excited to be here with all you beautiful ladies today. And I'm Tiffany Castagno, as Gail said, HR Curator of Culture, because culture is my jam. We're going to talk about love at work today, but that can be part of the culture, right? So I'm supporting small to medium businesses across the US and really helping them not ruin people at the end of the day. So
Okay, that's a good
That's
thing
a
to
good
do.
thing.
So I'm gonna let Karen start us off with our conversation. Karen, what do you want to find out from these two ladies today?
Listen, I have a lot of questions. Now, just a few. But really, are there do and don'ts to a relationship, like a work relationship, right? Is there such a thing as a do's and don'ts? Because I know from my experience, right, we always get coworkers that that you like, right, or you become cool, and then things can flourish from there, right? And things could be good, and then also depending on the circumstances, things could be very much of a nightmare. So I'm just wondering, is there do's and don'ts to office romance? Is there such a thing as that?
Well,
Right?
I'm gonna start out, and I'm gonna just say, okay, Tiffany. I know she's gonna tell us from the office and what
Mhm.
is it, the corporate policy type things. When you ladies first mentioned this to me, I was just an emphatic no, 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 because I was thinking about my experience with having a relationship at work. Um, And so, but as I thought about it more, I said to myself, you know what? I know some people who have found the love of their life
Mhm.
and have gone on to flourish in their business, relationship at work, in the corporate space, and have continued to keep their marriage. So I don't say emphatically no. For me, definitely, it would
Mhm.
be emphatically no. I have a husband now, so I wouldn't I don't have to do that. But if even if I didn't have a husband, I think at this juncture and what has been my experience, I would have to say no. But I would say to your question, it just depends, and I'll give you some feedback on why I say it depends later on.
Okay. So, what about you, Tiffany? What do you think?
I mean, I think yeah, that I had that I had a similar reaction like, "No, just don't do it. Don't do
Right.
it." And it was interesting in the comments because people were like, "I found my husband," or "I did this." And
Yeah.
so it's been interesting to see the mix of it. But I mean, number one, make sure you like them and it's not just an infatuation because hello. This one guy, I just thought he was real cute at work and he didn't work with me, but we kept passing at the vending machine and I'm like, I need to work up the courage to talk to him. And then we dated for like a year and that didn't happen. He's not my current husband. But I think, sometimes we are just, what did we say before this? Don't fall into the temptation.
Mm.
And I think that, we just have to be wise about it. And one of my things is like making sure why would you do that? Why are we doing anything? And it's not to say that it can't be but making sure like what is your rationale for it, and does it make sense?
Right.
Is it the right time, right? Like there are a lot of, we'll get into policies and all that, but that's what I would like to start us off with. And hey to the peeps for Thanksgiving.
Yes. Well, yes, that's a good one too. And what about you, Gail? What do you think? What do you think about finding a potential partner, or maybe not at work?
Well, it's not that. I don't think people get into a relationship at work to find a partner. Like, I
Hmm.
honestly think it's something that just happens. And I know in the beginning when people would say to me, it just happened, I'd be like, oh, what did they mean? It could never just happen. But then I realized you have two people who may have been experiencing problems at home in their own relationship.
Hmm.
You're with this person all day long. You're working on a
Hmm.
project together. You realize, oh, we have so many things in common,
Yep.
and you're in each other's space, and you chat about things that maybe you should not be chatting about. You get comfortable being with each other, and I guess that's how things happen. I'm not saying they should happen, but I
Right.
can understand when people say no. Things happen.
Yeah. No, I agree with all of you ladies. It's really a
And it's
toss
not
up.
that you're going looking for love. It's
Right.
just sometimes you're looking for that attention that you may not be getting at home, or whatever you're looking for that you're not getting in that other relationship. Maybe you're finding it at work with this person. And I always tell people, it's okay for you to say yes, you're gonna get into a relationship with this other person at work, but you're not doing their laundry, they're not doing your laundry, you're not cleaning up the kitchen for them. Like, it's totally different when you live with someone versus when you work with someone. You go home and you leave that person. Usually you don't see. It's a different situation when you're living and married to somebody versus, so that work relationship may look nice and rosy because it's
Oh
not
yeah,
a
Yeah.
real relationship. It's not a real relationship.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
Yeah.
usually
because
you
you're
leave
not
that
doing
person.
That's
You're not
true.
doing stuff. You're not
you're not
taking
Yeah.
out
doing
the
any
garbage.
type of maintenance. There's no maintenance. You know what I'm
Andrea
saying?
said, yeah, and Andrea said emotional cheating happens before physical cheating. Isn't that
Yes.
right? Like you're
That
sharing
is
Yeah,
true.
secrets. Be
yeah,
careful who
yeah.
you tell your business to at work,
Hmm.
especially. That's how some of these things do start.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna share one that I want to say maybe this was about 15, maybe 20 years ago. I was working, and this is not in an office environment. So I used to work for the U.S. Postal Service, and so we are in a big, huge production area, and there are men and women working together and side by side, working mail and doing this type of stuff. And there was a particular guy there, and he was around my age at that time, and he was married to someone that worked at the post office too. I knew the girl, I knew the mother, but he would talk about, oh, her name, let's say her name is Cherry. Oh, Cherry don't like, that I work in the yard so much and that I put so much time and effort into cleaning up the yard. Okay, my side of the story is that my husband don't care nothing about how our yard look. I got the worst yard on the block. And so one day he's talking about this, and I thought, oh my goodness, I would love it if somebody, would take care of the yard. And so something is not happening at home, and this thought comes into my mind. Oh, I would love you. I would love you so much.
Bring on the scandal.
I would I would take care of you. She don't appreciate you. And I had to say, girl, stop. You but Satan, get behind me. I'm a woman of faith, and so I understand that Satan be working on my mind. I was just like, nope, stop that. And so I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I went to work the next couple of days. When I worked with him again, because we had different off days or whatever, and he was getting ready to go to a different part of the post office to work, and I knew where he was going back there to work. It was a bunch of women, and they were all thirsty, thirsty, thirsty.
The thirst is real.
So I said, so I told him, and I said, hey, the stuff you share with me about the ups and downs of your marriage with your wife, I say you're safe here with me. He almost wasn't safe though, but I say you're safe here with me. But where you going at, I wouldn't share because you're not gonna be safe back there. And I just want you to
Right.
know that
Right.
you're not gonna be safe because they thirsty. And he said, "Oh, I appreciate you, saying that to me." He said, "Well, I'll make sure I probably, that I don't share too much." So I don't know what happened after he moved back there, but I'm just saying that the thought creeped up so fast for me, in that whatever was going on in my personal life, because I've been married for 38 years. So I was married at the time, but
Mhm.
I just thought, oh, I would love you. She can't love you like I can. Cause, 'cause, oh, I would appreciate that yard. I'd be out there with you, bringing you tea and lemonade and fanning you. I'm gonna pass it on to y'all ladies.
That is
So
funny.
I'm gonna ask Tiffany. Tiffany, can you please respond to Lucille as the HR person in your company? What would you tell Lucille with these thoughts? Tell me. Like,
What you
I,
thought?
I mean, assuming she came and told me her thoughts, we might have to talk about a policy or two, just as a little nudge and reminder. But let's remember that people are humans when they come into the workplace, and feeling is natural, right? Love
Right.
is natural. And so I think we have some questions, but it sounds like she figured out for herself, like, hold on, you're married, this man is married, this might not, right? It's about, I would say, what questions would you ask yourself? We probably start launching into a little bit of coaching and counseling, because you just want to make sure, what is your intent in the first place, right?
Right.
Does this serve you? What are the impacts to your job?
Yeah, I
This
thought
can
it was
happen
gonna
with
serve
thirsty
me.
women. They might try to take you down,
Yeah.
right? Because you need somebody sometimes to help rein you in, whether it's, a colleague at work, your spouse, a friend, to talk to you, to be like, maybe that's not the best idea, to give you some other considerations. And I do that with employees all the time. Like, let me help you see some things you might not be seeing right now. Let's process
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only
That's
that,
good.
sometimes it's not so like even with things at work. Maybe the person that works there, right? Let's suppose that person do have a person or a significant other, right? Maybe it's not the person that you work with, but the mess could come from the spouse, right? Or from their partner,
Mhm.
because you don't know how people are going to react when you get involved with somebody, when you mixing yourself in somebody else's relationship. So that's
Right.
something people do have. Single, it's the one thing you have to deal with a single messy individual, right? But when somebody has a partner, you know how you act. You might assume to know how the person is, right, personality wise, but you don't know how their spouse might come looking for your ass at work. I'm just saying.
Right.
I've seen it. And
You
and
know?
and, and
she, I
also
think, I think
sometimes,
Jeremy's come for your person because we're live. We're still live. So Karen, they would come for your person, not any specific body part per se.
Nobody
Just
part.
we have, yeah, we have to be on the straight and narrow. This is a public broadcast, so I think what she meant to say was that other person may come for your body and not a part of your body. Yeah. So Tiffany,
Thank you.
Tiffany, but so seriously, it is we're laughing because it's funny, but you think of all these possibilities that can happen because technically it's not two people in a relationship, it's four, because it's you and your spouse, the other person and their spouse,
Right.
and you have all these emotions in place, and then it's never only you. It's never only you. So
Right.
it could be me and this person at work. We both have spouses, and then there are also the other people in the organization who are watching us and who may know, because no secret is a secret, as we remember
Right.
from, I don't remember what radio station it is, if it was CNN or ABC or whatever, where those two people were in a relationship and they didn't even know they were being spied on. It's always more than you think it is.
Yeah, that's
So I
true.
guess, Tiffany, why I'm raising this is because, as the curator of culture, that's a big responsibility for you, really, to make sure that people are not only aware of the policy, but they understand why there's a policy in place and why it needs to be followed, because it could get messy.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I like Stacy's comment about seeing a mixed bag, some successes, some
Mm-hmm.
stresses, and
Yes,
some
yes.
messes. Yes, all of that. Um, and the thing is, with workplaces, to your point just now, Gail, it is. I never cease to be amazed at how rapid, like wildfire, gossip flows through the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even in your families, you've probably seen it. Like, how did you even know? Like, So it is definitely something to keep an eye on. And the other piece, like, again, all jokes aside, people have, even if it's just you and maybe you're raising a child, you have to think about the impacts of that. Maybe you're in leadership and you're not supposed to be fraternizing with somebody who is a direct report. Number one, that's just inappropriate. Number
Right.
two, it's probably against the policies. But unfortunately, too, domestic violence is on the rise. And I have seen way too many situations where you don't need to add fuel to that fire because somebody, may be stalking you already. I have had people's, spouses, significant others call up to the HR office, try to ruin them. Did you know what they were
Right.
out there doing partying last night? Did you know that this person, you have people fighting because one partner found out? It's just, so then
Hmm.
there's a higher propensity for workplace violence too. Like, just you need to be wise about decisions. So I think it's best not to, but hey, we've had some love stories come from work too.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
that's true. So let me ask you a question, Tiffany. For a person, let's say an individual wants to know somebody likes somebody at work, or they mutually like each other, right? But they want to protect their work and be to the culture. How can they act? So where can they find this information as far as love at work from HR perspective? Should they directly ask the person at HR, or should they kind of like skate around the question? Because you don't know, based on the person whose HR is, right, is based on how you're going to feel the comfortable to ask a question. So what is the best method to ask or to find out this information?
Yeah, I started chuckling because when you said this, I was like, my first thought was when you were like, when they're trying to figure out love at work, I'm like, well, you go to the love at work guide, of course. Um, sometimes that's me, sometimes it's the employee handbook.
Right,
You could ask your manager as well. Some managers don't know the policies, some of them aren't
right.
upholding them. So if you have an HR department, a lot of companies, if they're smaller, don't, which is the population that I work with. But you want to be able to, be able to say something because you want to protect yourself and make sure if there is a policy that you're not breaking it, and that you're not just shielding information to yourself, because they might be able to just, if you are dating somebody, maybe they have a policy that they can move, you just can't work in the same department, or of course that if you report to someone, you can't work to them. So usually there's trainings as well. There's usually onboarding when you're hired about, these different policies, and of course sexual harassment, discrimination,
Right.
because that's one of the biggest risks that come out of this is folks get mad, then they start making allegations whether true or not, and it just gets messy. I've just seen it too many times. But you do yourself a favor and ask HR, ask your manager, go check that handbook, lean back on the trainings that you might have been like snoozing through, and make sure that you are equipped to know so you don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, at least with the companies that I worked for, I don't remember anybody mentioning anything like that. I mean, thinking back, I don't remember anybody mentioning as far as fraternizing at work with an employee. So that's what it came up. Like, where do you find this information? I know how to find information when it comes to like when it comes to your PTO and all that kind of stuff. But even in the manual, I don't remember seeing anything in regards to fraternization. So I'm like, would it be wise? I mean, I think it would be wise for a company to have such a policy in place, right? What do you, in your perspective, if it is so, why would that be wise for a company, whether it's big or small? Because big corporation might have it, but smaller corporations, they might not have that in place.
They will if they're my client. But and this is, what I'm seeing too is a growing trend where people are, legal. We always, even when I do a handbook, I say have your legal team review it. But now it's starting to work in inverse where they're like, our legal team reviewed it. We want you to look at it from a cultural perspective. Is it, does it embrace diversity? Does it, feel like the culture that we want to have? Most companies, I feel like, and if you have a good attorney on your side, there should be a policy in there. It might be called romance in the workplace. That sounds a little too like fluffy, but hey, every company is different. You want to look to make sure. Sometimes it's referred to as fraternization. You can do like a search in the handbook, especially if it's electronic to find it. But these are things that you shouldn't have to go alone as an employee. That's why there are resources and tools in the workplace to help you. And don't forget to use your EAP. I got to make my shameless plug because if you are in a relationship, you might want to get some external resources too, because you probably are going to have a real big situation on your hands.
You gonna have a sticky icky situation. No, that's true.
I
I agree
think
with you,
what's
ladies.
yeah, I think what's interesting, Tiffany, is that companies are reactive rather than proactive. So they may
Hmm.
not be a policy, as Karen is saying, but then when something starts to happen, it's like, OMG, I need to talk to Tiffany because I need to get a policy in place. But
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I guess after the fact is better than not doing it at all, but it's so much better if everybody, from the time you join an organization, it's part of the handbook or is something that you happen to raise. Just, and just wanted to raise it for you. We wanted you to be aware rather than wait until people get involved with each other. And then you have to scramble to find a policy, which I'm not even sure how easy then it's going to be to implement because there was no policy before. I know you want to correct me after I've already gone down the wrong road. So, well, I don't know if it's the
Hmm.
wrong road because, people have married their work person and they
Person.
are living happily ever after. I'm just saying, sometimes it's hard to get the horse to come back after it's run away. It's like it's hard. I know you understand what I'm saying. Tiffany's
Yeah.
laughing. So Lucille, come on, Lucille, lay it on us. What do you think about that?
Okay, so uh, two companies I've worked for definitely did not have a policy. I'm trying to think.
Hmm.
Three companies I've worked for definitely did not have a policy on that. They took the stance, I believe, that if you decided to have relationships and it went bad, then you both were subject to discipline. If
Hmm.
if it caused a problem for the work environment, so that's the stance that they took. It didn't matter whether it was a work relationship, whether it was fighting at work, sexual harassment, all of that. And two of these were union jobs, so mind you with that's where the problem that's where not the problem, but that's where these are coming from, is from a union job perspective. um, but in saying that, I talked to a friend of mine that when you mentioned this title of this show today, and I told her, I said, I'm gonna be on a podcast and we're talking about love at work and da 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 da. And my friend that I've had for years, she told me, I did that once. I was like, what? So she said that she was the guy's manager. And I said, you weren't
Hmm.
afraid? And we're texting now. And I said, you weren't afraid of sexual harassment? She said, no, no one knew at work. I said, "Oh, that is wonderful that you guys were able to keep it under wraps." And he
Right.
eventually left the company or whatever. But her and he came over to family events and stuff like that. But they kept it quiet at work. And so I've seen some people that have told me about, oh yeah, I dated so and so and so and so. And I was like, really? I would have never known. And so I think
Hmm.
when people can keep it under wraps like that, that is
Yeah.
really the best way to handle it, because you end up with, and Tiffany mentioned it, not only if they have a significant other or spouse at home, but it causes resentment in the workplace because what in her instance she was a manager, so she could have, someone would have thought that she was giving preferential treatment
Hmm.
to the person she was dating or whatever. But if there is a female that wants your man, so let me tell y'all about when I worked at TI. Now I was a young lady. I was young and fine, and it thought everybody wanted me, right? Because
As we all did.
it was some thirsty men at work, 125 pounds, just 19. You know how a
Hmm.
19-year-old looks. And anyway, I started dating this guy that worked in this particular area with me. And everything was good for about 4 months till another female came in the area and she decided that she wanted that to be her man. So it caused a whole and he decided that okay, she's older. I want to be with her. So I'm sitting there looking. I got to see these fools every day,
Hmm.
every day.
Correct.
And I'm thinking, okay, you stupid fool. Why would you date this guy? Now you got to see him every day. I mean, we
Hmm.
didn't break up on bad terms or anything like that. So it wasn't no animosity with us, but it was just a bad feeling to see them every day. And then she was kind of being shady, saying little shady stuff, can't keep your man, and I got your man, and whatever. It wasn't in those terms, but that's what she was saying.
I've seen that too. Yes. And then there's
Right.
like problems. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I was like, why do I even need to stress? So I had to hurry up and try to find me a way out of that department and stuff. And then it just it added into a whole nother thing because then you had women that were on her side.
Mm.
And so, it just makes the culture bad.
Yeah.
Toxic.
Cause you've put your personal stuff. I saw somebody was in the comments yesterday in the texting that the comments that we were making on the post, and she said, "Don't get your money where you get your no don't get your honey where you get your money." So,
Mm.
Marisha,
Yeah.
so I said, "Baby, I'm gonna steal
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna steal that. Don't get your
money where you get your
honey where
money.
you get your money. Keep
Yeah.
them separate. Keep them separate. Or if not, what Tiffany said earlier was do this thing if you're going to venture into that, do it with intention. What is your intention? I mean, I was 19. I was just the guy like me. I like him. We all bowled together. We did stuff outside of work together. So it was just a natural thing that it fell into. I was single. He was single. So we could do what we wanted to do, but not even thinking ahead of time. And I was too young to think ahead of time that, what if this doesn't go well? So what are my intentions? Am I looking for a husband to marry? Am I okay? Can I move to another department easily? If our relationship did work out well, could he move to another or would he move to another department? Am I okay with the stress of other women, making comments or whatever? So no, I was young, naive, didn't know how to talk back at that time. But baby, if it was to happen to me now, I could get them off my back, no problem. But but I was just taking it in at that time. I was sweet and nice and why y'all treating me like this? I'm just da 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 da. But now I'll be like, look, get off my back. Go on somewhere with yourself. But anyway, I'll pass it on to somebody else.
Mm.
Oh wow,
You
that's
know,
a
Yes.
yeah. Enjoy
Sorry,
you
Tiffany,
conversation.
go ahead.
you talked about like keeping it to yourself too. I've had a couple situations, and imagine having to be that conversation like, hello,
Mm.
Mr. Manager, come into this HR office. Let's have a little chat. It's come to my attention that you possibly might be having a relationship with someone. I'm not here to ask you if you are or not, right? So then we go into like, I have to launch into investigation mode. I don't like to do that either.
Right.
But there have been a couple times where people have kept it to themselves. They were in relationships with their direct reports and it came out, and that wasn't good. So you want to just make sure, again, I think back to our stance on intention is so important. Like, what are you seeking to get out of this? What could you stand to lose?
Yeah, that's a good question. Tiffany, let me ask you another question. When you do find this out, right? Or maybe investigating this, what is HR? Do they get fired off the bat, or do they if they work in the same department, do one person get sent off to a different department? How does HR handle such once the investigation comes in fruition, right? Once the results comes in, and you find out that maybe is it gossip good enough to go based on research, or you know what I mean, like because people don't always tell you. People not going to say yeah I am because they know their job is on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So once that do come out, however the
Yeah.
information comes
I
out,
am agreeing with Karen Tiffany because
like what do
research
you
is
guys
going to be
do?
very interesting because it's their word. It's always going to be
Right,
somebody's word against the other person's. And like, okay, so tell me, do you go into spy mode? What do you do? Stalker?
right.
I don't
You gonna
know.
find
How
me?
does
I
it work?
mean,
That's what you
How
gotta
unless
does
do.
that
unless
work?
there's evidence, I won't listen. I've seen a lot. I have heard a lot more details graphically to the point that I'm like, I need a shower now. That is disgusting. Um,
In the shower.
the things we see. So it just depends on, what you discovered, right? It's all fact finding. I'm not here to judge people or to make stuff up, but sometimes it does become like he said, she said. And if you can't substantiate it, you realize still anytime you're terminating somebody, you're impacting their livelihood, no matter
Mhm.
what the situation is. And so you have to be very sure and very confident that they knew the policy, that you gave them opportunity, that they did said thing. Sometimes it's we should train you on sexual harassment. We should retrain you. Sometimes it is moving the person. There's usually at least some element of retraining, a conversation, documenting that, telling them like, look, this happens and we find out, we're gonna have a problem.
Right.
Because you have to protect yourself as a company too. So it just depends. I know people don't like that answer, but
I
It
mean,
really
that's
does.
true.
It's all
No, but I
seriously
mean,
No,
backsliding.
but yeah. So
but
I
that's the
wanted to
thing.
just go over to this comment from Andrea Pratt Smith. She says she's never dated anyone she's worked with, but she was the manager of a young lady that was having an affair with the boss. It was impossible to reprimand her, and she was very bold and difficult. I am like,
Mm.
OMG. Okay.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes, Lucille.
Yes.
Lucille, was that
So,
you?
no
Don't
ma'am, no
deal with
ma'am.
that. What is the
No ma'am,
bomb?
but
That's
I
your.
Work.
but I have seen this. I'm telling you, I'm at the
Yeah.
post office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The two of these jobs
me
I'm talking about is
too.
the post office and TI. If anybody knows about them, that you know about them.
Yeah, I
But
have seen this
okay,
too.
so at one time at the post office, there was this young lady, and she was getting away with murder, and she just knew she was bold. She knew she could get away with murder. She was dating the manager of the station. And I came in as a supervisor, new supervisor, and I was wondering about, what, because I'm observing what's going on here. And one of the other male supervisors say, you can't say nothing to her. Or you can't do nothing. You can't write her up. You can't. She come back. She would bring the mail back. I mean, performance just horrible.
Mm.
And I said, what's happening here? And they said, well, she's dating the boss. And so that didn't make anybody feel good because I'm not the only one saw that she was horrible.
Right.
Her coworkers saw that she was horrible. They were picking up the slack because I mean we're in a production environment. The mail got to get out. Somebody got to carry it, and if she's too sorry to carry it, that means somebody else got to pick up the load. So it was just a horrible experience to know that this girl was just abusing the system
Mm-hmm.
because this guy, decided to have an affair with her, and he was married.
Mm.
He was married and quite a bit older than her. So
Mm.
I wonder if if that was her tactic coming in, that oh, I'm gonna get the guy, because as ladies we can just about get whoever we want to if we got the right look and the right thing, we can just about get
Mm-hmm.
whoever's interested in us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if she went after him, targeted him, or whatever, but it made her life easy,
But it
Mm.
made everybody else's life
but it
harder.
Yeah.
made
And how
everybody
did they
else's life
know?
bad.
How did they know that these two people were in a relationship? Like, were
You know
they
what? I don't know
flaunting
because
it?
it happened. It happened. It had been going on before I got there. So I never saw them together. I didn't see them interact too much together, but everybody knew.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew.
Mm.
And
And as
so,
Kathleen is saying, I guess they were both abusing the system. But you know
Yeah.
what's really interesting here for me is that um leaders have to lead by example, don't
oh,
they?
absolutely. They should.
Yeah.
They
I'm
should.
We
not
should.
sure
Yeah.
that like you should be the one in a relationship with a subordinate, or somebody
Right.
that
And
works
that
for you,
Mm-hmm.
was
because
before
that's like
all of the
scary.
sexual harassment stuff came out. I mean, not too long after that. I mean, I started at the post office in the 80s. So this was late 80s, and then just I can see fast forward, we started getting signs up in the building talking about sexual harassment. We started having training about sexual harassment and stuff like that. But ladies, I've seen it all. I've seen a guy get his car keyed by another female
Jeez.
at that their breakup didn't go well. She keyed his car. I think at another time a wife came up and had an altercation with the work wife. Uh,
I'm
Jeez.
telling you, this stuff be getting messy.
So
It gets messy.
look, if it goes bad, it's gonna go terribly. It could go terribly
Yeah.
bad. If it
Yeah.
goes good, you might have a partner for life. But you need to think about what could happen in the beginning. Is all I'm saying. Just think about what could happen.
No, I agree with you, Lucille. It's just about really deciding what's really worth it, right? Like if your job really worth it for a little side fun at work, like I mean, if it's gonna be a real relationship, right? Maybe other things it will show in different ways. But you kind of know when something's gonna be more for fun, when it's something's gonna be more for something serious. But I think it's more about like you both our ladies, all of you mentioned, it's about intention. Like, what is the intention? If it's just for fun and you're gonna put your livelihood on the line for somebody else, that to me that's not even worth it. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I ain't losing my money. Because they're not gonna take care of you. So now you out of a job. You gotta find what you gotta do, honey. I can't. I need my hair to be done. I'm sorry, and I
And
can't.
nails, and nails, hair
I
and nails,
cannot.
hair and nails.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. I need my, like they're not gonna take care of you. So therefore, why you like? It's not worth losing everything you have, especially if you have a career already. When you have a job, maybe
Some
sometimes
people
people
might,
don't care, but
some
when it's
people
a
don't care.
career,
I mean, I've seen it.
yeah,
Some
when
people
it's a
don't
career
care
and you have
Not
because
when
these
you're
women,
in
money and
love.
you drive,
Not when you're in love. Like
yeah,
when you're in
they,
love, like it doesn't matter, Karen. Nothing matters.
that
Right.
It's
love
that
Are they
warm,
is
taking
fuzzy
you
feeling
are
you
they
get.
taking you to Sevilla, Spain? Are they
Yeah.
gonna take you there?
I don't know. I just know it must be that warm, fuzzy feeling you get whenever you see that person at work. I don't know. I don't know. It has to be something that
yeah. It
makes
starts
you
with the
lose your
warm and
mind.
ends
So
up
It
cold.
cold.
has to be something that makes you lose your mind. So we're
No,
just gonna go
right.
into one more comment here.
Oh.
Okay, and
Oh,
it's from Catherine. She had a workplace boyfriend. We broke up.
Oh.
She got
mm,
promoted and
Oh.
we split amicably until a month after he had a Facebook update that he married someone
oh my
else.
god.
And she was the side chick while he was working his new
Oh,
wife through immigration.
Kathleen.
Um,
Jeez,
oh
cat.
my
I got
goodness.
promoted. I'm just gonna read the rest. Can anybody see it? Okay, so she got
Yeah.
Yeah.
promoted. Um, and but she
But
looked
look
like
like
a
a
fool.
fool.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
So she, until she saw the update on Facebook, and see
yeah.
that's the other part of it too. You just
That's crazy.
she found out she was the side chick, and
Right.
then
People.
Oh.
didn't know it. But that so I don't know who said it, whether it was you, Gail, or Karen, just a minute ago about I mean, it was in relation to the intentions or whatever. But you could have the best of intentions. Like if I was gonna date somebody at work, I don't play with anybody's feelings. I would be going in it being the real me but the other person may not be that type of person. They may be
Right.
going into it with just playing with your feelings and your emotions. Is you're just a plaything or whatever. And that could be men or women, because somebody else made the comment that and I'm not sure if you put it up, sexual harassment can go both ways.
Yes.
Absolutely. I've seen it
Yeah.
Right.
one time where it went with a female supervisor being accused of sexual harassment there. But, you know, I worked with some guys that when we had the training for sexual harassment, that one guy came back and he was like, "Dang, I want to know what's up. Ain't nobody sexually harassing me." He said,
Yeah.
he said, "I feel
I'm
left
thinking,
out.
I'm
Somebody,
like,
he wants somebody. He said he wants somebody to sexually harass him. He was up
get
for
out.
it.
Leave him alone,
Get
period.
out.
We don't want to do it.
He, he said,
Hey,
I need some of that sexual harassment."
Oh my gosh.
I tell you, sexual harassment. I guess I mean, there are some women that do harass guys at work, right? But it's
Oh
different,
yes,
Yeah,
so it's
you need
different
to
for a
talk to my
man
friend
than a
Tina.
woman,
yeah.
you know?
Harassment
Because she
is
said
opportunity.
she's got my friend Tina's got a younger, she's about my age, so she's 50s, late 50s, and she had a new boss that came in as a new minted MBA from Harvard, and
Mm,
she said the women are circling him like new meat. And so
wow.
she told him, like she's doing the mothering thing. She said, "I told you quit looking at them girls over there. Quit smiling at them girls."
I'm
And
telling you.
she didn't call them girls. She called them a garden tool. She said,
Oh,
cause they
You
all trying
know,
to get you. And he said,
yeah,
"Well, I'm married." He said, "They see my ring." She said,
doesn't
that
matter.
don't make
some
no
women don't.
difference."
Yeah, some
Doesn't
people don't
matter.
care.
So
Yeah.
I asked her because she had a new story for me every day about this new one that kept going by the desk and asking him how he was doing and
Yeah.
bringing him coffee and donuts and all this kind of stuff. I said, "Well, do you think that he's lying to you? He's having a." She said, "No, he don't have time to have an affair. He got a wife and he got a special needs child at home." She said,
Hmm.
Oh,
"I talk to him sometime when he's on his way home. He's not messing with none of these women, but they sure trying to get him."
they sure trying to
Yeah, but I still think
go
it's really
for it.
good that she had that conversation because sometimes you know what saves you? A conversation.
Yeah.
Because he may not have known that these people were trying to get his attention because he's so busy doing what he should be doing. I think
Right.
it's good if we have these conversations with people who are unaware that other people have a plan for them. You know, so
Yeah.
you just whisper
Right.
in your ear so that you can stay on the straight and narrow. So I'm gonna start to wrap this up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask Lucille, can you give from your wonderful, fantabulous marriage counselor ambassadorship perspective, give our audience 3 tips. What are 3 tips you would give us for situations like
Okay.
these? And then we're gonna come over to you, Tiffany.
Okay, let me pull it up because I sent it to you earlier, but here we go. My 3 tips are, all right. Tip number 1 is I say avoid the temptation. Tip number 2, don't share personal information with the opposite sex or same sex, and I have in parentheses if that is your flavor.
Right.
Number 3, plan for the worst in the beginning. And so Gail reached out to me when I sent these to her in writing, and she said, "What does plan for the worst in the beginning mean?" So I sent her back this text. I said, "In the relationship, if the relationship were to go bad, what would that mean for you? If it was to go good, what would that mean for you? For example, if it goes bad, can they claim sexual harassment? And do you have to work with them closely daily?
Mm-hmm.
And will you look bad to your superiors?
Right.
Mm.
If it goes well, can you find a new job easily inside or outside of the company?" So those are my tips. I'm all for love. I am all for marriage, but I think just like Tiffany said earlier, it needs to be with the right intentions for both
Mm-hmm.
people.
Right.
Fully vet, fully vet. If you're gonna, I'd say to avoid it, but if fully vet, if you're not going to avoid it, and you found love, this could be the person that the Lord has sent you. So I'm
Right.
not saying don't take hold of what He sent you, but fully vet the whole situation before you dip your toe in it.
Right.
I'm gonna land the plan there.
Tell your body, your eyes,
Yes.
wandering eyes.
Right.
What are you telling us, Tiffany, apart from dipping your toe, your foot, your elbow? Like what advice do you have for us?
Your lane. I think I definitely would agree with what Lucille said. Like, and it's back to what I said, making sure you even like them and what are the intentions, knowing what those policies are. I would say too for employers, because a lot of times organizations like to pretend like they don't know things are going on because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to deal with, or maybe they have their own relationship. They like this person, and so they don't want it to get out or go further, or they don't want HR involved. This happens a lot. But if you've been put on notice as an employer, you need to act. Leadership, you have a responsibility. HR has a responsibility. The organization has a responsibility. So don't act like you don't know if you know, because
Mm-hmm.
you will be held responsible legally. Make sure you have clear policies if you are an organization on sexual harassment, what it looks like, including because not a lot of people recognize what sexual harassment is or even general harassment. So outlining that for people, sharing what discrimination and retaliation look like, because maybe that relationship did end, but maybe now there's retaliation behind it. And if you are about to try to find love at work, I again back to like make sure you know how it's going to impact your roles, your responsibilities, your future decisions, and your livelihood. Like think about what's the worst thing that could happen, and is this something that I'm prepared to do?
Yeah. That. Yeah. I would. The only thing I would add, because people are grown, they're gonna do what they want. But if you choose to go there, shut up and don't tell nobody. Thank you.
But you might
And
want to.
You're not
don't
supposed to,
act like
right? You're not supposed to, but people gonna do what they want anyway, right? And that's
yeah.
just the
Yeah.
nature of the beast. So if this is you and you feel you have somebody at work who you feel that's supposed to be your significant other for real, don't go tell your friend technically work not coworker friend at work, who never go outside of work together. Like keep it to you. I feel like it's important to keep things to yourself. Don't
Yes.
involve
Keep
people in your
things.
business, because the more you tell one person who you think is your friend at work, that friend at work could tell other people, and then there you go. Now you got a whole big problem. Not everywhere now. So I say
Yes.
this: I'm realistic. Like people, I get that, right? And I understand that you should not do it. I don't mean no, that's not my thing. But if you choose to do, people are going to do what they want. But if they choose to go that route, I think it's important to know how to keep your business to your business, to yourself.
Mhm.
And nobody needs to know that, because
Yeah.
people like to talk. People who you
Yeah.
think are your friends, and you might think they're your friends from work, but I don't know the circumstance. But yeah, I just think it's important to keep things to yourself, honey.
Well, may I say this? So that other incident I told y'all about when I was 19 and I was working for that company, and the guy decided to date another girl that was in our department. Now I cannot confirm or deny that we both got fired for fighting, but
Wait, hold on. She's acting like a grown.
The
uh, but
skeletons are coming out.
but
Right?
but al- uh, but allegedly
But
she said something out the way to me, and I and we had to lay hands on each other. But
Workplace
and so,
violence.
that was a whole HR blender thing there too, so we both lost our jobs behind that. So, if that really allegedly happened, because I cannot
It was
confirm.
always going to be a
That's my
non-negotiable.
story. That's the good
Right.
story, right?
ah,
You was about
so
that
we
life back
have
in the days.
Lucille,
Don't
who
mess with
may
me.
or may not have been fighting, and Andrea is saying she's telling everybody because she needs to know about the wife who he says is the housekeeper. Like people,
Say it.
Right.
Yes.
for
Yeah.
me, I think the biggest thing from this conversation is this one. Let just
Yes.
not
Run.
even avoid
Yes.
the
Run.
temptation.
Yes.
Just run from it because
Yes.
it's just so much drama and so much like
Too
is
much
it
bad
worth
Yes.
it?
stuff.
Like is it really worth it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
said,
if
go in the
it's
bathroom and
worth it.
pray. Jesus, get some
Yeah.
demons off of me.
Yeah.
And you know what?
People of faith
But
will understand that one.
Let me say that
yeah,
one. Say that one more time. I wrote it down here that I wanted to make sure we got it in. So I'm glad you said something about faith. As a woman of faith, I want to say that it is so important for you to check with your God. I said
Mhm.
pray about your desire and
Yes.
see if
hmm
you can get a word from the Lord, because if you just go in and you hadn't got the okay from the Lord, some of these disastrous situations that we're talking about can happen. So
Yeah.
I just believe that the Lord really can talk to you, and because
Mhm.
He talks to me and gives me a nudge in the way I should go. And if I
Mhm.
had
hmm
listened to those nudges, I was not a praying woman back there, during the time of the alleged fight, that I cannot confirm or
the
deny.
alleged.
Uh, So I would just say yes, definitely pray, because you can find your true love at
Yeah.
work. I have
Yes.
seen it
Yes.
happen. So I don't
Mhm.
say definitely don't do it, but I would say in most instances try to stay away from it unless the Lord told you, and then move to another department or move to another
Yes.
job to do it.
Right. Exactly, Lucille.
So I'm gonna land
Pray
the
on
plane
it.
there. I know you're
Let
trying to wrap up.
Yep. Let the Lord tell you. Pray
Well,
for
I wanted
discernment about your relationship. God will expose it.
correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like Andrea's comment.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to let's just put her comment up quickly.
Yeah. That's
Like pray
true.
for discernment about your relationships. It's true. God will
Yeah.
expose the hidden. But I
That's
think
true.
the only caveat I will put on that is that we have to be patient because sometimes when we're getting all fluttery and that heart stuff, we want it to happen. No, we don't want to wait for God to give us the answer. We're praying, but we're hoping that the answer is go for it, go for it, go for it. But
Right.
that might
Right.
not even be the answer. So in
That's true.
between there, in the waiting, you go for it, and then you realize, oh crap, I wasn't supposed to go for it, but I'm already in it. Like that's why I said messy. It's messy.
Yeah.
So ladies, I just want to thank everybody for this I know it was a serious conversation, but I also want to thank you for a very entertaining conversation. What I
Yeah.
love about our Sunday chats is that we can address something that is serious and look at it from a lighthearted perspective. But at the end of the day,
Mhm.
we're all learning because the goal of these conversations is to make sure we all learn and grow, not only personally, but professionally in our lives. So I'm going to let Karen wrap up, but I'm going to thank Lucille and Tiffany for joining us. And I know you're going to be back because this conversation could have gone any which way. And I'm sure there are
Yeah.
other ways that we can come back and talk about it, not only from the HR perspective, but also from the marriage relationship
Yeah.
perspective and relationships in general. So, Karen, can you wrap it up for us and take us out, please?
Yes. Listen, I enjoyed this conversation so much. Ladies, thank you so much for showing up for us. And just every time we get together, it's a fun time. I enjoy having
It
both of you
is.
here. It's nothing but laughter. Before we even start going live, we're already laughing. So I hope all of you enjoyed today's conversation. Next week we're gonna have Caroline Leaks. We're gonna be talking about money management guide for entrepreneurs. So I think it's important to just have that type of conversation. But I hope all of you enjoy your Sunday and just follow all of these ladies. Follow all of us.
Yeah.
Connect with Lucille if you're married or thinking about being married, right? She would give you the guide. She would get she will hold on to you and guide you through the process. And follow Tiffany if you're in HR interested in collaborating with her brand in regards to
Hmm.
HR.
And
And
if
follow
you need a
Lucille.
policy, if you need a
Yeah,
policy,
if you need a
Tiffany's your
policy,
girl. She'll help
if
you
you
with that
yes,
policy.
if you have if you have Friday Nation policy
Training.
work,
Yeah.
contact Tiffany. She
Yeah.
gonna get you straight and right. And
Correct.
follow Gail if you have any customer service issues, any corporation training that you need, and follow
Hmm.
me if you have any virtual assistant needs. So you ladies and everybody here, thank you for watching, and you have a
Thank
good
you. Have a
Sunday.
good Sunday.
Bye,
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank
people.
everybody.
you. Bye
Hannah.
bye.